Imagine, if you will, a warm afternoon in a small town called Greenbow, Alabama. The air hummed with the lazy buzz of summer, and on a wooden bench, a man named Forrest Gump sat holding a worn box of chocolates. He was a simple man with eyes that held a deep, innocent wonder for the world. To strangers who paused to share his bench, he'd offer a piece of candy and then, with a gentle smile, begin to weave the tapestry of his extraordinary life. My mama always said, he'd reflect, his voice soft, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. And for Forrest, life was indeed a box full of unexpected, often unbelievable delights and challenges, each one leading him to places no one, least of all Forrest himself, could have ever predicted. His earliest memories were shaped by the unwavering love of his mama, a woman whose spirit shone brighter than any star. Forrest wasn't like other children. His mind worked a little differently, and his legs, curved and weak, required cumbersome braces that made walking a clunky, often painful effort. The metal straps chafed his skin, and the heavy shoes made every step a conscious thought. School was a challenge, not because he lacked heart, but because his comprehension lagged behind. Yet, Mama never let him feel less than anyone else. She was his fiercest defender, her words a constant balm. You are no different than anybody else, Forrest, she'd declare, her eyes firm, her love boundless. She taught him to read and write, to be polite, and always to do his best. She even went to extraordinary lengths to ensure her son could attend public school and not be sent to a special needs institution, once even welcoming the school principal into their home for a night, a sacrifice Forrest, in his innocence, didn't fully grasp until much later. Mama's wisdom, delivered in simple, profound sentences, became the bedrock of Forrest's character. But Forrest was never truly alone. His world was forever changed by the presence of Jenny Curran, a beautiful girl with hair like spun gold and eyes that held an almost haunting sadness. Jenny lived next door in a house shadowed by unspoken pain from her abusive father, and she became Forrest's refuge and his one true friend. She'd chase away the bullies who taunted him for his braces and his simple mind, her voice sharp and clear, protecting him with a fierce loyalty. "Leave him alone," she'd shout, her small frame surprisingly strong. They'd spend hours under a giant oak tree, sharing secrets and dreams. Jenny strumming a guitar and singing sad songs that Forrest didn't quite understand but felt deeply. She was the anchor of his young life, the first and only love his heart would ever know. One fateful day, as those mean boys gave chase again, throwing stones and hurtful words, Jenny's voice cut through the air, sharp and desperate. "Run, Forrest, run!" He ran. He ran as he had never run before, legs pumping with a frantic desperation to escape the pain and the taunts, to reach his safe haven with Jenny, and then, with a sudden, liberating snap and clatter, his heavy leg braces burst apart, clanging to the ground as he bounded forward. That moment, propelled by Jenny's urgent plea, revealed a truth. Forrest Gump could run like the wind, effortlessly, tirelessly. This newfound effortless speed would unknowingly set the course for his extraordinary destiny, carrying him far beyond the quiet roads of Greenbow. Forrest's incredible ability to run became his accidental passport to places he could never have imagined. One afternoon, while simply fleeing more bullies, he stumbled onto a high school football practice field, his sheer speed so astounding that the legendary coach, Bear Bryant, immediately saw his potential. Forrest didn't understand the complex strategies of football, the X's and O's, or the intricate plays, but he understood one simple instruction: run the ball. And so, Forrest, with the ball tucked firmly under his arm, would simply run straight, often oblivious to the defensive players trying to tackle him. He became an unstoppable force, a star for the University of Alabama, running touchdowns almost without thinking. The roar of the crowd, the flashing cameras, it all washed over him like a gentle breeze. His athletic success was so significant that he found himself shaking hands with President John F. Kennedy himself, an all-American football player meeting the leader of the free world. Forrest, ever focused on the simple things, mostly remembered the abundance of Dr. Pepper in the White House and needing to use the restroom after drinking so much of it. He floated through these grand moments, a simple man caught in the currents of history, always polite, always himself, never quite grasping the significance of the figures he encountered. He was a curious, almost invisible witness to the defining moments of his era. After his college days, the path led him to the U.S. Army. It was there he met Benjamin Buford, Bubba Blue, a gentle giant with an unforgettable smile and an encyclopedic knowledge of everything related to shrimp. Bubba, with his deep Southern accent, would talk for hours about all the different ways to prepare shrimp: shrimp Creole, shrimp gumbo, pan fried, deep fried, stir fried. There's pineapple shrimp, lemon shrimp, coconut shrimp, pepper shrimp, shrimp soup, shrimp stew, shrimp salad, shrimp and potatoes, shrimp burger, shrimp sandwich. Forrest listened intently, his loyalty unwavering. Bubba dreamt of becoming a shrimp boat captain, his family's legacy woven into every one of the countless variations he described. Forrest, with the easy promise of a loyal friend, assured Bubba that once their military service was over, they would start a shrimping business together. Their bond was simple, strong, and built on shared dreams. A friendship that would prove tragically short. Their unit was sent to the jungles of Vietnam, a place of constant fear, oppressive humidity, and suffocating danger. The air was thick with the smell of damp earth and distant smoke. Their leader, Lieutenant Dan Taylor, was a proud, hardened soldier, his family history steeped in military valor, with generations having died honorably in America's wars. Lieutenant Dan believed it was his destiny to die a heroic death in battle, just as his ancestors had. He was a tough, no-nonsense leader, but underneath, a man grappling with a preordained fate. During a sudden, brutal ambush by the Viet Cong, their platoon was engulfed in chaos. The jungle exploded with the sound of gunfire. Explosions rocked the earth, and the desperate shouts of wounded men filled the air. Forrest, his heart pounding, but his mind clear amidst the terror, heard his commanding officer shout orders to fall back. Instead of retreating, he instinctively began to rescue his wounded comrades. Again and again, he ran back into the thick of the firefight, amidst the flying bullets and exploding grenades, carrying injured soldiers one by one to the relative safety of the riverbank. He saved several men, performing acts of extraordinary heroism, driven by pure instinct and a simple desire to help. Among those he pulled from the jaws of death was Lieutenant Dan, who, despite Forrest's valiant efforts, suffered devastating injuries and lost both of his legs. Lieutenant Dan, in his agony and despair, would later express a bitter resentment towards Forrest for saving him, believing it had denied him a glorious military death, a fate he felt was his due. But the deepest heartbreak for Forrest came when he found Bubba, grievously wounded, his life fading amidst the chaos of the jungle floor. Bubba's last words were of home and shrimp, his innocent dreams dissolving into the humid air. Forrest held him close until his friend was gone, a silent promise hanging heavy in the air, a promise he intended to keep. For his incredible bravery, Forrest was awarded the Medal of Honor, the highest military decoration, presented to him by President Lyndon B. Johnson in a formal ceremony. While recovering from a minor buttock injury at an Army hospital, he stumbled upon an unexpected talent: ping pong. He found the rhythmic back and forth motion soothing, and he spent hours practicing, batting the little white ball against the wall, then against opponents, developing an astonishing skill. His reflexes and hand-eye coordination became almost superhuman. His fame in ping pong grew rapidly, leading him to become part of the U.S. ping pong diplomacy team, a unique cultural exchange that aimed to thaw relations with communist China. He traveled the world playing ping pong, observing the different cultures with his usual wide-eyed innocence. He became an international celebrity, his simple nature charming everyone he met. On a television talk show, he found himself sharing a couch with John Lennon, the legendary musician. Forrest's innocent observations about life behind the Iron Curtain, they don't have no religion over there, seemingly sparked an idea in Lennon's mind that would eventually become the iconic song Imagine. Forrest, blissfully unaware of his profound influence on popular culture, simply found it fascinating that Lennon didn't believe in heaven. His journey continued, leading him to meet President Richard Nixon, who, ironically, arranged a room for him at the infamous Watergate Hotel, placing Forrest inadvertently at the heart of a significant political scandal that he remained utterly oblivious to, simply enjoying the chocolate chip cookies provided. True to his promise to Bubba, Forrest invested his Medal of Honor earnings into buying a shrimping boat. He lovingly named it the Jenny. To his surprise, Lieutenant Dan Taylor, now confined to a wheelchair and consumed by bitterness over his lost legs and shattered military dreams, joined him. Lieutenant Dan was a shadow of his former self, angry at the world, constantly drinking, pushing everyone away. He resented Forrest for saving his life, believing it had denied him a glorious military death, a fate he felt was his due. He was cynical, mocking Forrest's simple faith and constant optimism, frequently challenging him to find meaning in a seemingly random world. Their initial attempts at shrimping were a disaster. They caught almost nothing, their nets coming up empty day after day, the hot sun beating down on their fruitless efforts. Forrest, ever patient, would simply cast his nets again. Lieutenant Dan, in a moment of despair and defiance, looked up at the sky during a violent storm, yelling at God, daring him to send a bigger tempest, and then, as if in answer, a colossal hurricane, Hurricane Carmen, roared through the Gulf of Mexico, unleashing its fury upon the coastline. The storm decimated nearly every other shrimping vessel, leaving a trail of destruction. But miraculously, the Jenny weathered the storm, tossed and battered, but ultimately intact, having been tethered securely by Forrest. When the winds died down and the skies cleared, the waters were teeming with shrimp. Forrest and Lieutenant Dan began to haul in astonishing catches day after day, net after net, filling their boat to overflowing. The Bubba Gump Shrimp Company soared to unimaginable success, making Forrest and Lieutenant Dan incredibly rich. Lieutenant Dan, now financially secure, found a new path. He used their profits to wisely invest in some kind of fruit company, which turned out to be the nascent Apple computers, further multiplying their wealth. This unexpected prosperity, combined with Forrest's unwavering friendship and simple, unwavering kindness, slowly began to melt away Lieutenant Dan's bitterness. He found healing, purpose, and eventually even state-of-the-art prosthetic legs, learning to walk again and finding new joy in life, even proposing to a kind woman he loved. Their bond, forged in the crucible of war and then strengthened by shared entrepreneurship, became unbreakable. Forrest's life, it seemed, was destined for one incredible accidental adventure after another. One day, feeling an inexplicable urge after his mother's passing, he simply decided to run. He just started running, and he didn't stop. He ran out of his house, through his town, across the state, and then across the entire United States, from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific. And then, after reaching the coast, he simply turned around and ran back. For the 3 years, 2 months, 14 days, and 16 hours, Forrest ran. He ran through deserts under blistering suns, through pouring rain, over mountains, and across vast plains. He never explained why, offering only, "I just felt like running." Along the way, a growing crowd of people, inspired by his seemingly endless journey, and seeking meaning in their own lives began to follow him, believing him to be a spiritual leader, a guru offering profound wisdom. Forrest, however, was just running, sometimes needing to tell his followers, I gotta pee. His journey even sparked cultural phenomena. When he stepped in dog waste, a t-shirt designer, wiping his face with a yellow shirt, inadvertently created the iconic smiley face logo. And when a bumper sticker designer tried to get him to come up with slogans, Forrest simply said, shit happens, unknowingly coining a famous phrase. He was a silent, unintentional muse for an entire generation. Then, as abruptly as it began, his epic run ended. I'm pretty tired, he declared, stopping in the middle of a dusty road. I think I'll go home now. He simply turned and walked away, leaving his bewildered followers to ponder the meaning of his sudden departure. His impact profound despite his complete lack of intent. While Forrest's life unfolded with such extraordinary ease and accidental fame, Jenny's was path remained fraught with struggle and pain. She plunged into the counterculture movement of the 1960s and 70s, struggling with drug addiction, drifting through various communes, and enduring a series of tumultuous and often abusive relationships. She was constantly searching for something, for meaning, for love, for a place to belong, but found only heartache. Forrest, ever the constant in her life, reappeared whenever she needed him, offering his quiet, unconditional love and a safe haven. He invited her to live with him, but she, feeling unworthy or simply too lost in her own turmoil, would always drift away, trying to find her own way in a world that seemed determined to break her spirit. Each goodbye was a quiet ache for Forrest, but his love for her never wavered. Finally, after Forrest's epic run and many years apart, Jenny found her way back to him, broken but ready to heal. She arrived at his doorstep, exhausted, but with a new lightness in her eyes. They spent precious time together, rekindling the deep, unspoken connection that had always existed between them, a bond that transcended their vastly different life paths. In a quiet, astonishing moment, Jenny revealed a secret that changed Forrest's world forever. He had a little boy named Forrest Gump Jr. Jenny assured him with a fragile smile that their son was bright and healthy, not like his daddy in terms of intellect, a moment of profound relief and joy for Forrest. His heart swelled with a new kind of love, an instantaneous, overwhelming affection for this child he never knew he had. But their newfound happiness was tinged with sorrow. Jenny was very sick, afflicted with a severe unnamed virus, implied to be AIDS, given the context of the time. Her health declined rapidly. In a poignant moment, after years of unspoken love and missed chances, Forrest and Jenny finally married, a small, beautiful ceremony under the same oak tree where their childhood friendship had blossomed. It was a dream come true, yet heartbreakingly brief. Soon after, Jenny succumbed to her illness, her body finally succumbing to the ravages of her disease. Forrest was utterly heartbroken, losing the one person who had been his constant star in a swirling universe of change, the only woman he had ever truly loved. He buried her under their favorite tree, a silent promise to remember her always. In the wake of Jenny's passing, Forrest embraced his new role with the same simple dedication he applied to everything else. He became a single father, pouring all his boundless love into raising Forrest Gump Jr. He prepared his son's breakfast every morning, walked him to the bus stop for school, and ensured he had a secure, loving home, just as his own mama had done for him. He learned to navigate the world of parenting, from packing lunches to helping with homework, guided by his pure heart and the invaluable lessons of unconditional love he'd learned throughout his life. He was a simple man, but an extraordinary father. And so we find Forrest Gump once more, sitting on that familiar park bench, waiting for the school bus to take his son to his very first day. The sun shines brightly, and the world moves around him, full of its own complex stories. As he finishes telling his incredible, winding tale to a final stranger, a white feather dances gracefully on the breeze, twirling and floating through the air before gently landing at his feet. Forrest picks it up, a delicate symbol of life's capricious, unpredictable nature, and carefully places it inside his son's school book. It's a perfect bookend to his narrative, echoing the feather that opened the film, reminding us that life, much like that feather on the wind, can carry you anywhere, often to places beyond imagination, full of unexpected turns, profound connections, and the enduring power of a simple, good heart. Forrest Gump's story isn't just about a man who stumbled through history. It's a testament to the power of kindness, loyalty, and the simple truth that sometimes the most profound lives are lived by the most unassuming souls. guided by nothing more than an open heart and an unshakable belief in the good.